Welcome to my educational YouTube channel Career at 360. Few days back I've done a comprehensive video on how to get an accounting and finance jobs, out of which you can see over here. Okay, and in that video I have covered only the three parts, which is we have seen about how important the ERP knowledge to get an accounting job, what is our role of an Excel and advanced Excel skills with data modeling and data automation, and then we went up on some of the regular reports and activities which any accounting and finance professional has to do during the month. And we end up our first video after these three steps, which is ERP knowledge, advanced Excel knowledge, and monthly report. And today I'm covering the resume, the purpose of resume, what are the purposes of resume, and the interview guidance in this video. And now, before I move to the resume, now think of it. Now your resume has mandatory words like an ERP. Now your resume has a very powerful wording about your Excel, and your resume has 10, 15, 20 of the keywords which are high in demand in the market. And now when they scan your resume, it has 80-90% things. And again, please keep remember, don't make 2-pager, 3-pager or 4 pages of resume, because the only purpose of the resume is to get you an interview call. I never met a person who says that I have sent the resume and based on my resume, because it is so detailed and everything, they send me a offer letter. I never met a person. So the only purpose of the resume is to get the interview call. So to the point, and so that the attention, because if you send 3-pager or 4-pager, definitely majority of managers will not read your resume and they will put it into the dustbin. So don't do that. Okay, now what are the important things when you make your resume? The thing is, whatever is the transferable skills, let's say analytical skill, investigative skills, ERP knowledge, you have migrated the data from one ERP to another, you have worked on month-end reports, you have a good budgeting experience, costings, reconciliation, whatever are the keywords, just highlight those things. And last Excel skills, advanced Excel skills, functions defined in 16 and 2020, bold them, highlight them, because these are the corporate experience. And please remember, I will cover that in an interview. And your resume ideally should have at least 70 to 80% of the keyword for you to process to the second stage. And most of the time what people do, that they write a 3-liner and 4-liners onto the responsibility. Again, manager will not read those 3-liners to 4. Put them into a bullet, 1-liner per responsibility mention on your resume, and highlight the keyword. That's the key thing for you to get to move on to the next stage. Okay, and your resume must be 20 to 30 seconds reasonable. If a manager thinks that there's 1 minute or more than 1 minute time is required to read your resume, they will never entertain you. And what is the best thing? First 20-30% of your resume, put all your transferable skills and experience and all those things into the bullet points on the top, and then followed by your education and the job description or the responsibility you are doing. So make your resume in such a manner that the manager reads your top qualities on the top 40% portion of your resume, and then when he comes onto your job and responsibility of the previous employers, only they don't have to even read the full line. They just go onto the bold words, keywords, and they know. For example, month-end reporting, variance analysis, budgeting, costings, KPIs, dashboards, bank reconciliations, accounts payables, this. So they don't have to read the whole line. Your bold words, and that is how they complete reading your resume in 20 to 30 seconds. Very important thing. Then there will be no elimination factors, and there are dozens of elimination factors. When I read people's resume, I tell them that, you know, why you're not getting the call, because there are 4, 5, 6, 7 elimination factors. You have made your resume in such a manner that every time you go, the chances of your of getting the interview calls will be getting closer, because you are exposing yourself. You are telling the whole market, the job market, the recruiter, that the skills which are required in the market are not there. So remove those elimination factors. Now, there are many examples. One of the example I found, many of the people which have 5 years of experience or 10 years of experience, they start their resume with the very first word, 5 years of an experience. 10 years of experience, and I says, oh my god, the very first word which is on your resume will kick you out from the whole process. Why? Because they told in the ad, for example, a person with a 3 years of experience required. Now when you say a 10 years experience, they know right now you are desperate, you need a job, and right now whatever is the salary level, whatever you will come in, but they know that within few months, the moment you find any good reasonable job, you will leave them and go over there. Now what is the problem with the manager? They may have spent 10,000 15,000 different bucks in the different currencies of the world. Now they have to pay one more time to the recruiters. The hiring cost increase. The top manager will not be happy with the HR manager, that what kind of a person you have hired. You have not identified that this is not the person who will stay on a longer term with us. Plus you have spent some weeks or months to train them all of the procedure, and now again the problem is the next person who will come, you have to train them. So please take out all these. So if you want to tell that you have more experience, what I say to the people, don't put 5 years 10 years, just put extensive experience. And who knows what is expensive for them. And when they call you for a job interview, then before going to that, you can read that ad came onto job bank, and you can see what are the requirements of the job, and then you can prepare your answer accordingly. Okay, so but don't do that. So there should be no elimination factors, and there are many other elimination factors which I can identify on it. Then what happens that most of the people I found, they make 2 or 3 or 4 different versions of the resume. They read the job descriptions coming onto the internet or whatever the job market, job bank, and they change their resume and send it. Now what mistake you guys are doing is that you are sending your different resumes to the same recruiter. And what do you think? Are they fools sitting on the other end? They don't know what you are doing, and they identify you as a fake person, because every time you change they don't know what actually you are, what is your actual resume. So what is my advice is, please don't do that, because having 2, 3, 4 resume is technically a suicide. Because even, for example, you enter into the room, and now how do you know that what version of a resume they are holding, and they says you, can you please go through your resume, and now in the resume it's written that you went onto the east side, and when you start verbally, you start telling them I'm going onto the west side, and there's a complete contradiction between what is written on the paper and what you are saying, and they try to wind up in 5 to 10 minutes, and they tell, or the recruiter will mark your name, your email, your phone numbers in the days as a blacklisted guy, and then keep applying, and they never call you for interview. So one of the things which I always advise to the people, make one comprehensive resume. Try to cover one resume which can further cover your 3 to 4 job title. For example, if I'm a financial analyst, my resume will be enough to help me as a reporting analyst, as a costing analyst, as a business analyst, as an other. So make your one resume in such a manner that at least 3 to 4 or 5 or 6, whatever you say. Even for example, I can send an accounting executive, accounting manager, or things like this. So 4, 5, 6, 7 titles you should cover. So make one comprehensive. Don't make different resumes as per the job requires. I request you, don't do that. That will be a very dangerous thing for you. Now, last thing, which is job interview. What are those things which you have to keep in mind when you apply for the job and you expect the job interviews? Okay, so when you apply for the job, every stage is a knockout stage. For example, if your resume don't have sufficient keywords, you are out from the game. If they call you in for a first telephone interview because you are selected among first 50 among 1000 resume received, and if you have done some blunder, you are unable to explain yourself, you are out. So when I say when you apply for the job, every stage is a knockout stage. If you don't take it seriously, if you don't prepare yourself, if you don't do the practice, if you don't do the study and things like this, if you don't want to know what's happening in the market, what kind of a situation can come in, it will be difficult for you. Okay, so to me, based on this, the interviews are divided into 3 different stages. One is called a technical questions. Now what is technical? Whatever is written on your resume, they can ask you anything. And they says, okay, can you tell me the 5th line which says that you were doing a bank reconciliation and vendor reconciliation and the customer reconciliation. Can you tell me more in detail what you were doing? Now you at least have 60 seconds to 90 seconds to explain. Now this can you, okay, now over here it says you are handling with the fixed assets and the depreciation. Can you please elaborate me more in detail? What was your things? What are the sources of getting the data? What is the depreciation method? And how many times you do different activity related to bank, and what are you doing, a monthly reconciliation or a quarterly, whatever it is. So at least you have those questions which are called the technical question. And again, there can be something which is not written on your resume, but because they know that one of your major responsibility will be that, so though it's not written, but they can ask you. For example, you have not written on your resume that you ever worked on the accruals, and now they can ask you, what is accrual? What do you know about accruals? Have you ever worked about accrual? So now you should have a knowledge of something which is not written on your resume, but they can always ask you. Second is psychological questions. Okay, and why they ask you psychological questions? Because they want to check your IQ levels or your professional mindset. There are hundreds of questions on which I help people to get prepared for the interview. For example, they may ask you that you are a group leader and you are doing some decision making, business decision making, but majority of your team members are not agreed with you. So now what are your next steps? Okay, so now you have to handle this situation very smartly. And again, if you are not prepared yourself for an interview, I think within 1 second or nanosecond, you are not smart enough to create an answer into your mind and can present them something which can impress them. So these are some of the things which you have to work hours before you start applying, so that the moment you receive the interview calls, you are ready. How to what kind of questions they can ask me, and what are the words, what are the answers I can do this thing. And last is a situation related, because they know that once you hired, what kind of a situation will be you will be facing in the company. So they judge your knowledge, that how you'll be handling those situations and things. And sometimes there are many tricky questions. And for example, situation is that they can ask you, have you ever been in a conflict with your boss? Now that's a situation related question. Now you cannot say no, because if you say no, that means that you are not telling the right. If we are living in the same house with the spouses, with the children, with the family members, we have a contract. So actually we have a contract with our bosses. So if you say no, that means you are not you are telling a lie. So you have to say yes. There are few occasions where we are first of all dilute the word. I will not say a dispute, I will say a difference of opinion or understanding. So I've diluted the word. And then there are many examples which I can help people that you can show like this, where the purpose is solved. The purpose is solved without saying anything negative about the boss, rather saying he was a bias, he was always don't understand my things, I don't know what was his mentality, he was not ready to understand the things. He is not. Don't do that, because maybe the person who's asking the question can be your future boss. So you cannot say something about your previous boss. Okay, that counts as a negative for your thing. So these are the three different stages. Now, what are the preparation you are required to do before you start applying into the market for the jobs? You should do a preparation ahead of that thing. The most important thing nowadays, take your mobile phone, make your video, ask yourself a question, record your video, and see where you are missing. What are some of the weakened areas? What is a command, or what is the command on the words? How much you are fluent, how much you are logical, where you have taken unnecessary pauses, and things like this, and how much you are fluent when you are saying, and how much logical you are saying. So do maximum recording on your mobile phones. Or previously we used to stand in front of the mirrors and used to do that, but now thanks to the technology you can do that. And this is already we have discussed, but then you always keep in mind that every word which is written on your resume, you have to own that one. The hiring manager can ask you to elaborate any of the point. So if there are 15 points job responsibilities written on your resume, make 60 to 90 seconds answer of each word. Not only the features, sometimes I've seen that they says, okay, you have mentioned yourself that you are a good team player. Can you please tell me a situation where you have proved that you are a good team player? So not only the responsibilities or things, but sometimes interpersonal skills. They can ask you to prove, because you have written you are a, and the people write so many things. I'm a self-starter, I'm a proactive, I'm a result-oriented, I accept challenges, I'm a team player. And now out of these words, they can always ask you, can you prove me whatever you have written? What is that situation where you have proved that you have these skills? So you have to tell them the situation. So be careful, whatever the interpersonal skills you use on your resume, you should have a very solid example to defend yourself. Then again, this I've told you that prepare 60 to 90 lines on each line. And yeah, this is one of the mistakes which I always found when I do some mock interviews of the people, and I ask them some of the question, and rather than giving me a definition, they give me example, just a very little example. For example, if I say, what is fixed assets? And many times I received an answer, fixed assets is like a building, furniture, fixtures, equipment, and all those things. And I said, no, that's a very wrong approach, because you may not get a full marks or even a negative marks. When I say what is fixed assets, or whatever is the question the hiring manager asks you, first give a definition. Fixed assets are the assets which company use for a longer term, for more than a year, and fixed assets are the assets which help company to generate their revenues. And now you can say, for example, is the land, building, machinery, equipment, vehicles, equipment, whatever it is. Okay, so that's the right way. So whenever you go for an interview, don't start your answer with the example. Give the definition and then followed by the examples. Further, if we move forward, nowadays, take help of your friends or family members, sit in front of them, give them the questions and tell them to ask you the question and then reply them. And if ideally you can record that thing, please record that thing. Now, this is very important. Plus, when you go for an interview, there are some of the things which are also very important, that you should have dress up smart casual, have your proper haircut, or shave if you're a man, and you should select the decent colors. Colors are applied both to the men and the women's. Proper hairs are applied to both men's and women's, and same is a casual. You cannot go something like a wedding dresses or something extraordinary glitters or thing like this. Sober colors, professional colors, decent smart dressings, and all those things. Always say, when you enter into the room, don't be very much confused. Enter the room with the confidence. Just give a little smile on your face and pull your chair very gently. Don't get panicked. I don't want you, means don't that your mobile drop down, your file drop down, or you drag the chairs in such a manner that the very painful noise comes in. So drag the chair gently, sit down gently, take few seconds, put the paper, mobile. Ideally, I will suggest you to keep the mobile in your car, or don't take the mobile, or make it mute before you enter into the building, because I don't want that that will be very irritating and very even insulting when something vibrates in your pocket or bells ring up. It's very important. So if you are taking your own vehicle, put it into the car. Don't take the mobile inside the building, because that also diverts your attention also. Okay. Secondly, if they are sitting across the table and there's a broad table, don't just bend down on the table and offer a shake hand. Don't do that. If they offer a shake hand, then do it. Otherwise, just say the greeting, good morning, hello, hi, whatever it is, and sit down gently. Okay, don't try to lie down on their table to shake hand with them. This is very awkward. Okay, then once you settle down, listen to each question carefully. Don't keep saying, pardon, can you please repeat, because that tells them very clearly that your communication is not good and you have a communication problem, and that thing goes against you. You can have a negative marking on somebody with a good communication will take edge over you. Okay. Always maintain eye contact with the person. If they are one person, maintain eye contact with one person. If they are two or more than 2%, then divide your attention to all these people and keep all of them engaged with you. What I have often seen when I call people for a mock interview and I says, tell me something about yourself, and they start the question and they start looking up on the roof, they start looking on the left, right, down, I don't know what they do, and it looks so awkward. Sometimes I feel because they are not confident, that's why they are unable to maintain an eye contact with them. Very important, please maintain an eye contact with them. And Further into the interview preparations, if you do the more you do the mock interview with your friends on your mobile and things, that will prevent you looking scared or panic during the real interview. So you will have a practice, you know what are the questions and the things like this. So second thing is, whenever they ask you the question, start it with the important keywords, because you have already done a preparation. You know what are the keywords to start, what is the logical flow I have to maintain, what are some of the jargons. For example, normally people don't say general ledger, they say GL. Sometimes people don't say sales, revenues. NR stands for net revenues, GM stands for gross margins, COGS stands for this, the WIP of WIP. They don't use the full words, and we all know all these things. So use the jargons which are used in the commercial and into a corporate world, and maintain the logical flow. Don't say the weaker things first and then the main points at the end. Okay. Sometimes what happens, I've seen that when people come for an interview, what they do, if they're sitting in their hands, they start moving their fingers like this. They are doing nothing, but they are moving their fingers like this. And if I'm sitting in front of me, it look very awkward. I don't know, because they are confused, they are scared, they are the lack of confidence do this, and sometimes they start moving their legs. And what happens that their chair is attached with the table. So now I'm sitting on the other side, I can feel the vibration, or sometimes chairs start making some noise which is not very good to hear. And but because they are so tense that they cannot even realize what blunders they are doing the interview. So that's why calm yourself, move it to this, and don't do any abnormal body movement, eye movement, head movement and things like this. Act very professionally. Many times I find people that because of the fear, because of the tensions, either they become so loud that even the person sitting into the next room can hear them because they are panicked, or they become so low that even at 3 meters or 4 meters, it is difficult to understand for them. And sometimes what happens, their pitch goes up and down. Sometimes they go through that situation that they start feeling that their throat getting dry, and they need water. So they drink half a glass of water, full water, and then they can during the interview they say, "Can I have some more water?" So don't do that, please. If you do more practice, then all these things you can easily avoid. And when you're doing a mock interview, make yourself that your voice level, volume is normal, your pitch is normal, your words are normal, that confidence is always on your face and things like this. And that's what I say. They just want to see. They don't want. Sometimes when they ask you the question, they are not interested in what you were doing. They were more interested in what is that confidence level with which you are delivering the answer. What are the key words you are using? How your concepts are clear. So these are more important things right there. So always keep these things in mind. And because people are not prepared themselves, so what happens, they keep, because they don't know what to say next. So in that panic situation, what they say, they repeat the same sentence twice, thrice, 4 times, and which clearly give a proof to a manager, hiring manager or a recruiter, that you are totally confused. You don't know what to say next. Half of your mind saying or speaking to them, and half your mind is thinking what to say the next. And while doing this, you sometimes produce some of the abnormal sounds like because you are buying the time to say or think what to say the next. So please don't do that. The more you do the mock interviews, the more you do a video preparation of your interview, you will be becoming more and more perfect into all those things, and you will even if you have these weaknesses, with more practice you can overcome all these problems. So this is all about some of the basic things which I think are very important to for anybody who want to get into accounting and finance jobs. And we will continue some of the more these important series like this which can help you. And I hope that today you have learned a lot about the hiring process, the knowledge about the resumes and things like this. If it is so, I will request you that please like my YouTube educational channel Career at 360. Kindly subscribe it also, and please share it with your friends and families, so that other people also get benefit out of. And at the end, I will request you to please stay tuned, so that whenever I bring in some more good new videos, you can get updated on as soon as possible. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.